friends, welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. Amanda here. Today I've got another card for my Love card series. This card was so fun to create, and using the stencils that come with this stamp set made it 10 times easier and made it go even faster. I had a lot of fun creating this card. I hope you enjoyed as well. Let's get into it. Today I'm going to be using the Sweethearts stamp, die, and stencil set from HoneyBee. This came out in their newest release, and it is so easy and so fun to work with. I love all of the sentiments and that beautiful heart floral and the dies that come with it. This whole set is just complete. It is, like I said, easy to use, a lot of fun to work with. These stencils are all layering stencils to help you color in your images with inks, distress inks, anything like that. You don't have to use them, but they're a really fun option if you want to do some ink blending. I also have a variety of distress oxide colors today. I'm using Mowed Lawn, Fossilized Amber, Seedless Preserves, Shaded Lilac, and KITSCH Flamingo. Again, you could use any colors that you like. These are some of my kind of my favorites that I like to use with florals. The first thing I'm doing is I'm going to stamp down this beautiful floral heart onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock. Bristol Smooth is my favorite cardstock for ink blending. It works out beautifully, it blends beautifully, and using these stencils and some blending brushes, it works out even better. Now I use this rectangle die to kind of line everything up. I end up cutting the heart out later, so it doesn't really matter where you stamp it. I thought about leaving it in there, and then as I was doing the ink blending, I was thinking of different things that I could do. So again, you can stamp it wherever you want. I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a watercolor friendly ink. No, I'm not doing any watercoloring, but I really like this ink because it's nice and crisp and dark. It's not good for alcohol markers, so if you wanted to do Copic coloring, I would suggest doing a Copic friendly ink and then maybe stamping over top with this. I've seen a lot of people do that, but today, since we're just doing ink blending, it doesn't really matter what ink you use. I just chose this one because I like the nice crisp dark outline that you get. Next, we're going to get right into the ink blending. Now, I'm going to speed through this a little bit, but the process is pretty easy. You just find there's no really kind of set order you have to stencil these in. You can choose any order that you want. I started out with the greenery. Again, you could use any layering stencil in any order. I apologize if my head gets in the way throughout any of this. I just wanted to get these lined up. There are register marks kind of around the edges to help you line things up, but I was just trying to line up the leaves themselves with the cutouts, and I'm going in with my blending brush and just blending on that color. And again, this was so easy and so fun. I've seen a lot of different ways that people have done the ink blending. They've gone in, with a lighter color and then gone in with a darker one. I just kind of built up the color using one shade, and I really like the way that it turned out. Again, this is super easy. I am not the biggest fan of stencils just because I struggle with them, but these were so easy. They lined up beautifully, and using that nice dark colored outline really helped out a lot as well. So as you can see, the greenery is done. Next, going in with the small buds. Again, you could stencil these any color that you want. I love that you could coordinate it with, somebody's birthday. You could make it a little bit more masculine too if you wanted, going with some more kind of, deeper tones. You could make it seasonal, anything like that, which I think is really cool. So I'm going in with that KITSCH Flamingo and just building up the color here. Again, this is a little bit of a lighter pink, especially whenever you use these blending brushes. But I think as you go through and you layer up the color, it really kind of defines those little buds. Super fun. I just love how it turned out. Now, when you ink blend over this, you do get a little bit of residue over top of the black. Just because these are oxide inks and they lay over top of, just about anything that you ink blend over. But I have a little bit of a solution for that, which I'll show you once we're all done with the ink blending. Next, we're going to go in and do the medium-sized flower, and I'm going to do those in I think I do those in a purple shade. Yep, I do them in the lilac. I wanted the bigger flowers to be the darker color. So again, just going in with that shaded lilac and just building up the color. Not really, have a light source or shading or anything like that. Just kind of went with what I felt looked nice. And these stencils clean off really nice as well. I just loved how easy it was. I was really worried about everything shifting, but again, everything lines up beautifully. and I think this is a really cool idea. I hope they come out with a few more like this. And again, I apologize if my head gets in the way. I just wanted to make sure it was nice and lined up. Now for these larger flowers, there's 2 stencils for it. You have kind of the petals that are in the back, and then you have petals that are in the front. So if you wanted to, you know, kind of really intensify your shading, you know, with the different layers there, you could do that. I just went in with the seedless preserves kind of lightly, and then towards the centers of the flowers, I did them a little bit darker. Again, you don't have to have a lot of colors. You can stick with one color and just build up the shading. And it, you know, like I said, you could use Oxide, you could use dye inks, you could use distress inks. I've seen it use any kind of inks work out really nice. Go through and shade these last couple of leaves here with that same seedless preserves. And again, this was so much fun. I'm really excited to use this stencil set again. And I wanted to make those just a tiny bit darker. You can't really tell, but once everything's, you know, dried and it sets for a little bit, it really kind of smooths out and looks really pretty. Gonna go in with the flower centers. There's only 3 here on this stencil, and I went in with that fossilized amber. I really like this for flower centers. I think it's a nice kind of deep yellow. And again, you can add shading, you know, do different colors. You could do multiple colors if you wanted. I was just building up the color. Super pretty. Now that I have all of that done, like I mentioned earlier, you get kind of like a glazing over top of your black ink. So I left this stamp inside my MISTI, and I placed my image back inside of it, and I stamped over it again. Now this can be scary if you don't get everything lined up, but I was pretty confident that I had everything lined up. Went back in with that Versamark ink and just stamped over it one more time, and it really brightened up that whole image. Now that that's finished, I'm going to work on my background, give that an opportunity to dry, and I did cut that out with the coordinating die. Next, I'm taking the bold prints from background stamp from Hero Arts. This is the novel prose bold prints. Sorry, I had to read it. It's really tiny. And I'm just lining that up with another piece of cardstock here. This is some more Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm going to stamp down this kind of textbook kind of background. I wanted to have something in my background that was kind of subtle, and I really like the idea of using some like text prints. I think those are really cool. And I'm just going in with some Simon Says Fog ink to do my stamping. Now this is really, really subtle. Because the font is so tiny on this one, I stamped it down twice just to make sure you could really see it, because I plan on doing a little bit of ink blending over top of it just to kind of give it a little bit more depth. So that's why I stamped it 2 times. Again, it is still really subtle on the card, but it's enough to kind of just give some interest in the background instead of placing it on a kind of just a blank background. I'm going to take that panel and I'm going to ink blend on some Speckled Egg Distress Oxide ink. I really like this blue ink. It's kind of like a bluey gray, which I think works really nicely with these florals. And it gives a nice subtle background. I'm just going to speed through this ink blending here. Nothing too crazy, just going around the edges and adding in that color. It kind of makes the text pop a little bit more, which I really like. Again, most of this is going to be covered up by that large floral heart, but I just wanted, again, something in the background. And then I did a little bit of splattering with that same speckled egg. It blends in quite a bit, but I like the idea and the texture that it gives, just again to give a little bit more interest in the background. And we're going to set that off to the side to dry while we work on our greeting. Going to be using a die from HoneyBee as well. This is the Friend die from the Bitty BUZZWORDS that they came out with a couple of releases ago. And I die cut the bubble around the text out of black cardstock, and I cut the Friend text out of some gold cardstock from Tonic. And I really like the black and gold. As you guys know, black has been kind of a favorite for, you know, doing greetings. I think it really helps things pop out, but I wanted to add a little bit of gold as well, just to give it kind of a little bit more of a fancy feel. I always feel like gold kind of fancies things up a little bit. And I'm just going to attach that to this black bubble background. Or I guess it's not really a bubble. I guess it's a shadow, bubble shadow. I'm not really sure what they call it. I'm sure there's an actual term for it. I'm just going to adhere that down with some liquid glue, and that will be our greeting. And I'm also going to do kind of a secondary greeting as well, from the same Sweetheart stamp set. It's going to be a To My Friend. I really like this. It's kind of Valentine's-y themed, but it's for a friend. So this could be an open-ended card. Again, you could do it however you like. I really like having cards that don't really say love or you're my true love, anything like that. It's more open-ended for a friend. Next, we're going to get the little dot on the eye. I think it's called a tittle. I've heard people call it that before, and I was always kind of unsure if that was the actual technical term, but I think it is. So get that attached on there. I usually do a really dimensional kind of die cut, but I didn't want to cut out a whole bunch. I just wanted to leave it as it was. Next, everything is all dry here, and you can see how pretty that heart is, but I wanted it to pop off just a little bit more and kind of bring in the black from the greeting again. So I decided to cut out a shadow for this heart out of some black cardstock. I just took the die and cut it out and used it as to kind of create a little shadow just to make it pop off the background a little bit more and to pull a little bit of that black in. And I really think it looks really nice with that black detail. Really elegant. Here I'm going to do my second greeting here, and I was going to get my MISTI out, but I didn't feel like pulling it out, so I just took an acrylic block and I'm going to stamp it down using some Simon Says clear ink. I'm going to heat emboss with some Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder. And this particular stamp does have a die to go with it, which I absolutely love. And we'll get that heated up and cut out as well. Now that all of our components are ready, we can assemble all of our elements to our card. I'm just taking some foam tape and adding it to the back of our heart here. Going to pop it up just a little bit, just to give a little bit of dimension. And this is just some 3M foam tape. And that piece was sticking out just a little bit. Got a little crazy with the foam tape there. And I really like the background that I did here. I really love the idea of a text background, and I think this particular one is Alice in Wonderland. I was trying to figure it out, so I read it, and it's in a page from Alice in Wonderland, which I think is really cool. Again, you can't really read it, but it's subtle enough that I really enjoy it. Next, we're going to adhere our heart. I wanted it to be a little off-center, so I had room for my friend die, and I'm going to do a little bit of foam tape on the back of that as well, just so it's at the same level, and then we're going to glue the rest down with some liquid glue. Just so everything's on the same level and it doesn't have any issues with, going through the post and getting squished. Kind of fussing with my foam tape here a little bit. Use a little bit of that liquid glue on the remaining portions. And I really love the ink blending, the purples and the pinks. I really think these would look pretty in like some autumn colors. I know that these particular flowers probably don't bloom in the autumn, but I think it would be really pretty to do some nice rich oranges and reds and yellows. I think those would be really pretty too. Get that second portion to our greeting attached there. And we'll get our card base ready. This is just an A2 sized top folding card base out of some Simon Says 110-pound cardstock. Get that adhered down with some more liquid glue. And there's just a thin white border all the way around. I just love the way that looks. Now I decide I'm going to stamp on the inside. I always think I want to stamp on the inside and then I forget to do it. So then I always have to kind of fight and play around to try to get it stamped down without ruining my card. I'm going to take that same floral heart and stamp it on the inside using the same Simon Says fog ink. As you guys know, this is a favorite way to add some subtle imagery in the inside, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't get anything on the top portion of my card. I have been doing that a lot lately. I haven't been paying attention when I'm inking up, and I end up getting ink on the top inside of my card. So I'm trying my best to pay attention. Again, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. And so I'm trying to think ahead. So I got a little piece of scratch paper just to make sure that I didn't get any excess ink onto the top portion of my card. So I just shifted everything down in my MISTI and it worked out brilliantly. I didn't have any issues, and I just love that light gray floral heart on the inside of that. I think it would just be beautiful like that as a card. Simple, done. Throw a greeting on there and some embellishments and you got a card. I next chose a greeting from that same stamp set to go on the inside. Just again to kind of pull in the whole friendship theme. And I'm going to use that same VersaFine ink. Nice dark ink. And again, to clean up my mess because I get ink everywhere whenever I stamp. I can't thank you enough. I love that sentiment. So this is a thank you card that kind of has a little bit of a love theme to it as well. So get that heated up just because it's a pigment ink and I didn't want it to transfer onto the top of my card as well. And we're going to go in finally with a few embellishments using some Nouveau crystal drops in Simply Gold and Ebony Black. Again, just to bring in some more of that gold and black to tie the card all together. I was going to go in with my glitter pen, but I realized that I used Oxide inks yet again, so I didn't want to smudge all of my ink blending that I worked so hard on, so I decided not to. And this will finish up this card for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button as well as the subscribe so you don't miss out on any more videos here at my YouTube channel. I can't wait to share with you the next card. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you again soon. Bye!
On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.